Welcome back to Inside South Florida. In the event of a hurricane, how can you make sure that your dogs will be taken care of properly? Well, here is certified dog behavior consultant Russell Hartstein with all the information you need to know. Russell, welcome to the show, and thank you for bringing a week's worth of props with you. This is amazing. Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You needed a team of 5 people to bring all this stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't that much.
All right, so it's summer, it's hurricane season, and people who've lived down here for many years, like we have, you know, you go through the same thing every year, your flashlight, your bottled water, but I think a lot of times people don't realize how much goes into taking care of your pet in the event of a hurricane, right?
Yeah, it's true. A lot of people don't think about that at all, what they need to bring, how do they prepare, what the shelters, where the shelters are, what they require beforehand. There's a lot of preparedness that goes into that prior to the actual hurricane making it to shore. Right,
and hopefully, obviously, as we say all the time, we won't have to worry about it, but in the event that it happens. We're going to talk primarily about dogs. I might ask you a question about cats towards the end, but specifically about dogs. There are so many things, obviously, that people need to be aware of, but I just want to talk about, first off, some items that you need to have on hand for your pet during hurricane season, like a carrier, a crate, extra food, things like that.
Yeah, well, each municipality has different rules and regulations regarding their pet-friendly shelters. It really wants to be it's kind of a last-case scenario where you want to go. It's better to choose friends or family or anywhere regional or out of state. But that being said, there's a lot of items that are specific to dogs, of course. You want to make sure you have waterproof containers for at least 2 weeks of food, and a lot of different comfort items. You have stuffed chew toys, of course, a lot of treats. You want to make sure they're really comfortable with the vehicle and the car prior to getting inside before the hurricane's really upon us. Very comfortable with the crate we have here. If they're not, speak to a behavior specialist who is familiar with counter conditioning and desensitizing the dog prior to. You don't want to just last minute just all of a sudden take your dog, put him in the car, and you're off if they've never been in the car before.
Yeah, and as a guy who spends so much time working with animals, do you find that people don't sort of put them top of mind, you know, when preparing for a hurricane? I would imagine parents would be thinking of themselves, thinking of their kids, thinking of their house, and maybe they just kind of assume, oh, you know, the dog will be fine.
Yeah, right? It's true. I mean, space is finite, and there's many more pets than there are shelters that can accommodate them. There's only 1 or 2 in each county, and so the problem is people think the last minute, well, you have to actually be accepted. You have to do a pre-evaluation before you get accepted. You have to have all your documents up to date. So we have your vaccinations, your rabies shots, all of your records, therapy dogs, certifications, all sorts of different paperwork prior to getting accepted. You have to print out photos of your dog, have physical copies, as well as having it in your email and on your phone as well. So there's a lot of different prerequisites before you get accepted to each shelter.
You know, that to me is surprising. I would think maybe some people might just feel like, all right, well, a hurricane's coming, I'm going to drive to the shelter and drop my dog off. But what you're telling me is that if you've not done that stuff, you might be out of luck.
Yeah, you will be out of luck.
You will be out of luck.
Yeah, and not only that, but you can't even drop your dog off at the shelter. That's kind of a fallacy as well. You have to actually be there and stay with them as well. So they're not boarding facilities. You actually have to stay, pet parent has to stay with the pet inside of the shelter themselves. So this is a last case scenario. It's much better to stay in a pet friendly hotel or motel, regional or out of state, or a friend of the family, because this is really a last case scenario.
You just mentioned friend of the family. I mean, that's one of your tips here as well, that have arrangements with a friend in mind that might be able to take care of your animal.
Yeah, of course. Anyone westward, not on the coastline, would be an optimal suggestion rather than going to these. These are really last case scenario. These evacuation zone, pet friendly, but again, you have to prepare beforehand. You have to register, pre-register. You know, they only have a finite amount of space, and there's a lot more pet parents than there are space available for them.
Yeah, what is the number? 600,000 animals were displaced after Katrina.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. People don't think about it beforehand. They don't think about microchipping their pets. They don't think about tags falling off. There's a lot of stuff to really consider prior to a hurricane coming. And you just mentioned microchipping and tags. Tell me more about that, what people need to think about. Yeah, microchipping is probably the best way you'll be reunited with your pet. There's really the highest chances of that. The real problem is microchips are great, but people forget to update their information, their name, address, phone number, email. Countless times in South Florida we find dogs in the street, they have a microchip, but it's 10 places to go where the parent used to live. So it's real. You know, it's really a problem because people don't update their information, and again, tags fall off and get lost, pets get separated. Your best chance of finding your pet again is really to have updated microchip information. Wow. And what about the idea of making sure your animal is comfortable around strangers or other people that it might interact with? Yeah, that's great. It's kind of the analogy. You don't fix the roof when it's pouring rain out. You do it when it's nice and sunny. So you call a behavior specialist.
Like yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
And you work with them prior to, you habituate them to the crate, to the car, you desensitize them, you do counter conditioning work. You don't want to have to do the week of, you're getting ready to prepare your dog. Likely the first time your dog's been in a car is when going to the veterinarian. And there's probably not a good association to that. So the problem is really you want to counter condition that and really work with him prior to. So he really thinks it's a great opportunity to go in the car, have a great time, and really pair that with positive experiences. Otherwise, you're going to have a very scared dog, more fearful than usual. And, it's a very unsettling time and a very nervous time. You really want to put your pet at ease and relax as much as possible.
So let's talk about what you do. So people are going to call you now and have their dog get trained. So you see the dog, and how do you do some of those things you were just talking about?
Well, counter conditioning, desensitization, habituation to different stimuli that are very nervous, the dog's nervous around or to. Really just pairing it with positive things, such as we have the treats here, really high value foods, things of that nature. So it's a real fun experience. So it's not flooding a dog, it's not shocking to the dog, it's not stressful to the dog. It's a very gradual process, so the dog really learns to love what they're doing, not staining it.
Yeah, and cats a little different with regards to what you have to do preparing for cats, but what do you think?
Yeah, cats are a lot easier because they're more portable. Of course, you still need to bring 2 weeks worth of food in waterproof containers, kitty litter, 2 weeks of kitty litter, and you have to prepare appropriately for cats as well. But the shelters, I believe, only allow about four pets in, well, that's Miami-Dade County. I think it's 4 as well in Broward. You have to check my website for some more information, but there's about 4 pets per pet parent or family, so you have to be careful about how many pets you have, where are you going to go, and make sure they're going to be eligible to stay at these facilities.
All right, so you just mentioned your website, so what is it? How do we find you?
It's funpawcare.com.
Okay.
And there's a whole bunch of information, a lot more than we have to show here, but you'll see there's a lot of items out here. We have a life vest for dogs, in case you get into some high waters. You never know what's going to come out. All the debris floating around. Of course, we have Ziploc bags, manual can opener. We have.
Wait, you can train the dogs to use these themselves?
Yeah, with their teeth. No, well, some people have, of course, food in cans. It's not only good for people; it's good for dogs as well. Of course, you have your harnesses. You want to bring a couple of collars, which would be helpful. This is a waterproof collar, which is reflective material on it, which is excellent as well. Obviously, your dog's going to be pretty wet and saturated, so it's good to have a lot of different items. Of course, some leashes, their medications, the prescriptions filled prior to, collapsible water bowls, stuffed chew toys, and feeding dispensing items such as Kong toys are really excellent. A first aid kit is really imperative as well. Your dog's going to be walking around in muck and debris on the floor. You have no idea what they're going to be stepping on. Also, Mushers makes some type of wax you can put in the bottom of their paws, which will help, as well as dog boots as well, which would be a great item to purchase. But a good first aid kit to have a lot of this coagulation stuff in case they get cut or injured. It's great to stop bleeding.
This is hardcore, man.
Collapsible water bowls.
You're going to need a new room in your home for all this stuff here, but important stuff, though.
Yeah, I like to say to clients, pretend you're going away on a vacation camping from the woods for a couple of weeks so you don't have access to your local supermarkets. And furthermore, make sure you have an ample amount of cash on hand. When electricity goes out, ATMs don't work.
Right.
Gas pumps don't work. And make sure you have small bills and enough cash to buy food or what have you if the stores are open.
Well, thank you so much. This was great. And as we always say when we talk about hurricane stuff, hopefully people will not need to know this, but they can call you for anything dog related, right?
Yeah. Training, behavior work, and a lot of other services as well.
All right, great to see you, Russell, and have a good summer.
Thanks so much.
All right.